on. Joining me now from Washington is Alex Vatanka. He's a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute. It's good to get you on this morning. I'm really interested in your perspective on a number of issues. Let's start with the statement from Israel's defense minister released earlier that has put the concept of regime change or regime collapse front and center, given that the defense minister, I'm talking about Israel's defense minister here, has called on the IDF to target sites that would, quote, destabilize the regime. What do you think that will look like?
Well, good morning from Washington to you, Becky. Look, I'm not sure what that looked like in the short term. Clearly, the Israelis have, in the last 6 days, already engaged in a number of very senior, high-profile assassinations. Do they have the capacity on the ground to continue so? Maybe not right now, but maybe what they're trying to do is to prepare the ground, if you will, to do exactly that, to continue those high-level assassinations, to maybe decapitation in the short term is a strong word, but certainly sort of continue down this path to destabilize the regime. And Becky, we have to remember, this is a highly unpopular regime with the Iranian people, and I'm assuming good part of the state machinery outside the Revolutionary Guards and outside Ali Khamenei's inner circle are also at this point thinking, how do we get out of this mess? So maybe there's more to it than some people believe is the case when someone like the Israeli defense minister says what he says. Maybe there's a plan behind it. One can speculate.
I do want to talk about, Donald Trump weighing his options at this point and the ramifications of any US involvement. And I know you're going to give me a really good perspective on that. Before I do, I just want to look at another part of that Israel Katz statement. He says, and I quote, "The cowardly Iranian dictator sits deep inside his fortified bunker and launches deliberate attacks at hospitals and residential buildings in Israel. These are the gravest forms of war crimes, and Khamenei will be held accountable for his crimes." And he is, of course, speaking to ballistic missile strikes overnight, which hit a hospital in Beersheba in southern Israel and a district of Tel Aviv, a suburb of Tel Aviv, which is a civilian area. Look, many across the region that I'm in here in the Gulf and the wider Middle East are going to consider that statement and wording on war crimes and targeting hospitals and civilian areas. They're going to consider that hypocritical, given the strikes that we have seen, not least in Gaza, of course. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, you are in the region. I'm following what the folks in the region are saying. There's, two things. The Islamic Republic has done itself no favors over the last few decades, creating so much animosity in so much of the region. Certainly, the Gulf states, many have had serious questions about Iran's regional policies, including what he was doing with his nuclear program. But at the same time, there are two things here that they worry about. State collapse in Iran, a country of 90 million. What does that mean for the entire region? I mean, that is going to be something that Middle East has never experienced in modern times. So big question mark, if you're sitting in the region, what it means for your own security in your respective countries. And look, the Israelis obviously are also seen, I think, by the regional states as a potential threat for them at some point down the road. Like, if Israel gets to essentially bring the Islamic Republic down, what does it mean for countries like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and others? Could they not necessarily be targeted the same way Iran has been targeted, but could Israeli pressure come on them at some point? And that's why they have such big question marks about how the United States is handling what Israel is doing in Iran. Because if Israel can essentially do what it wishes without U.S. being able to stop it, what is the message, again, for the region, the countries of the region?
Sources tell CNN, at least for now, Trump is focused on avoiding a wider conflict, weighing his options about whether he gets the U.S. militarily involved here in striking Iran. How do you read what is being said and what you're hearing behind the scenes?
So, Becky, over the last few days, we've sort of believed that President Trump wanted diplomacy to work out, that the Iranians weren't giving him what he was after. So he kind of signed off, gave the Israelis a green light to essentially attack, the Iranian sites, but with the aim of bringing Iran back to the diplomatic negotiations, get the sort of deal he was after initially. But as things have moved on and we've learned about the calculations on the part of the Trump administration, it becomes clear that Trump was sort of with Bibi Netanyahu from get-go, that this thing wasn't something that Israel sort of surprised Trump with, that they have been together all along, which is basically also the talking point of the Iranian regime. But going forward, it's sort of hard to see how Trump's going to make a decision that might surprise Netanyahu. So ultimately, what I think Trump will do is a decision that Netanyahu would agree with in terms of the next steps in this war.
Alex, it's good to have you. The perspective from Washington by Alex Vatanka. Thank you. Well, when we come back, CNN gets